Hi, everybody. So thank you so much for those joining us virtually in the meeting as it's progressing, and also those that are watching online later on YouTube. We really appreciate your time and the chance to for you to learn more about one of the key funding sources that's available in South Lanarkshire at the moment. So to introduce myself, I am Lindsay Dugan. I am one of the Community Investment Managers at SSE Renewables. I do come from a third sector background before I joined the other side of funding, and did work for many years in South Lanarkshire. So I always appreciate the chance to come and to see all the great work that is happening in South Lanarkshire. So to give you a little bit of a background at SSE Renewables and what we do. So we are one of the largest developers and operators of renewable energy in Scotland. We also provide work internationally. Our biggest site in South Lanarkshire is the Clyde Wind Farm, and that's a joint venture that we have with a number of partners, and it's one of the key sources of energy security in Scotland, which is something that we're very proud of, and the difference that South Lanarkshire is making across Scotland and the UK. But when we build our renewable sites, what we commit to is reinvesting parts of the profits back into the local communities. This is something that we think is pivotal to the renewables industry, and showing our commitment to local communities and how vital they are to the just transition that we are all focusing on as we move to cleaner sources of energy. Through our community investment, we support 150 different communities across the UK and Ireland, and we have already invested £88 million. But just to reassure everybody, what is important about our funds is that they are community led. So we have some core funding principles, but they are tailored to the needs of each individual area. We recognise that every community is unique, and so we ensure that local people are empowered to make the decisions of how that funding is spent. We also think it is very important that the communities that host renewables and the regions that host them are those that benefit from renewables. So we believe in place-based funding. What that means is that most of our funding goes to those communities closest to the wind farms, and they get the control and decide how that funding is spent and how that legacy can be progressed. But we also have funding that is available at a region-wide level, so at the South Lanarkshire local authority area, and that's to help some of the larger, more transformation that's happening across the region that hosts the wind farm. And what we are trying to support is a lasting legacy. We know that communities, and particularly Scottish communities, are some of the most innovative and progressive, and it's providing them the income source that they can take control for what they want their community wealth building to look like in the future. And to support that to happen, we have a very small team in-house. We all come from a third sector background, and our role within this is to ensure that we are meeting the good practice principles set by Scottish Government, and to support communities with guidance of how they can deliver their community funding. So it's a lot of linking communities to other areas that are maybe developing similar projects, ensuring that the funding is provided in a robust fraction, and also appraising the documents so that the community panels and our expert panels can make strong funding decisions. The fund that we're discussing today is our Sustainable Development Fund, and that is our fund that's available across the South Lanarkshire region, and it is enabling us to widen the benefits from renewables, and it's got three key themes that it's trying to support. We recognise that young people are our future, and that there's particular needs of ensuring that the young people of South Lanarkshire can access the jobs that are available within South Lanarkshire. So we have a theme that is on skills and employability, and Damien Yates, who's the Chief Executive of Skills Development Scotland, sits on our panel to ensure that the funding decisions the panel makes are aligned to what are those local priorities for skills and employability. We also recognise the community wealth building agenda, and we are supporting community-led economic improvement. So whether that is taking ownership of community assets, it's about enhancing social economy provision within local areas and enabling local groups to take control of their future and have a sustainable funding sources that they can grow and they can manage independently. And then we also finally recognise the importance of the heritage and the landscape of South Lanarkshire. And being a renewable company, there is synergy with what we are trying to do about protecting the environment, protecting that heritage, and also helping South Lanarkshire communities as you transition to net zero. The fund, as I'm sure many of you are aware, is currently open. It opens every 2 years and it is available over the lifetime of the wind farm. So it may be that you are ready to put in an application for this round, or it might be that this information is useful for you for your planning for future applications, but there is that certainty of funding that it will open every 2 years. The deadline for this current round is the 15th of January, and we have moved to an online application system, which there is a link to at the bottom. This system is to enhance the data security of our applications and also the relationship that we can build with you. So it embeds all the application process into the one place. And it's similar to the process that is used by key organisations like the National Lottery and Foundation Scotland. We are all using a similar system, which is helpful. What I would suggest to people is if you're thinking of applying for this round, please do try and log into the system early so that we can make sure you have that password and your username all set up well in advance, and also take in the guidance for this fund. And also on our website we have a number of help videos, so if you're needing guidance how to complete the application, there is guidance there, and then myself and my team are also available to answer any questions. But it is quite a large fund that we have available at the moment. We allow grants from £30,000, and the panel does give the flexibility to provide awards up to the full value of the fund. I must say that it is unusual for the panel to award applications of such a high value. There's only been one example in the Highlands where that was achieved, and it was a region-wide large transformational project. It is traditional in the South Lanarkshire area that applications tend to be under the £100,000 mark, and that is to widen the benefit and just reflects the size and scale of the asks that are happening. So around that £30,000 to £100,000 is the most traditional ask and award amount. The fund is open to not-for-profit groups, and it does fund both revenue and capital. We are trying to make this funding as flexible as possible, and we can fund both elements, which I know are key to achieving the projects that you're looking at. We can fund both single and multi-year projects, so it's based on the need of your individual project. We are looking for projects that can be making progress in the 2025-26 financial year, but we can hold that funding open for a longer period if that your project requires it. And what we would ask, if that's the case, just for you to keep regular dialogue with our team so that we know what stage you would be looking to draw down the funding. I've had one project that took 8 years to get to access of funding. I'm hoping it wouldn't take so long for so many projects on this fund, but we do have flexibility. We are not linked to statutory sources, so we have more flexibility to move funding across financial years. And what we are able to do is support that early capacity building support as well. We know that that can be a challenge for a number of communities, so you can provide small grants up to around the £30,000 mark, where you're trying to provide those initial stages for funds for projects. What we find is we tend to be an early funder of a project, so provide that first funding source to allow you to attract in other sources of match funding, or often we tend to be the end funding source. And those aren't positions that we have placed. I think it's just due to the flexibility of our funding. Because it can be held open longer, it can often be the first source people look at, and then it often comes in at the end source because we can be flexible over which element of your project is funded funded. So it allows you to access all those support mechanisms that are needed for a project. We are happy to fund the bins and the toilets and everything else that makes that project a success. What the panel are looking for, and for this fund we do have an expert panel. As I said, Damien Yates from Skills Development Scotland is on it, and so is Lord McConnell, the ex-First Minister, as well as experts within sustainable development and community capacity building. And what the panel are primarily looking for you to bring out is, one, the transformational change element. How is this project going to enhance your community and leave your community in a stronger place? How do you describe the project? They want clarity of what your project is and what you're trying to achieve. And with its outcomes, they want to understand how many people are going to be supported. What is it that you are looking for that legacy and that impact of your project to be? They are looking for justification as to why your project is needed. So they do look at how you have researched for the need of this project. Has it been based on a local action plan? Is it based on some demographic information within your community? And also, how have the community been involved with shaping this project? Have you done a community consultation? Has there been information sessions for the community? Do some of the community sit with on the board and have helped you to shape those projects? We are not a funder that sets match funding requirement. That is not a key priority for our funding source, but we do know that our funding can help untap other funders who do require match funding, and we are comfortable to be put in that position. The panel don't tend to be the only funder of a project, and that is because they don't want to leave a community in a vulnerable state, that if they funded the whole project for a period of time, where would the succession planning happen for that project? So that is what they're looking for. They are looking for the project to have considered how they are going to sustain that project once the funding from the Sustainable Development Fund comes to an end. And then what I thought would be useful before we move on to answering any questions is just to give you an example of some of the successful projects that the panel have funded. And one of those that has been had a multi-year award has been LEAP. So the panel helped LEAP to take a derelict building in the centre of Cambuslang and turn that into their community hub. And then they have provided multi-year support for them to redesign their retail arm of the charity or the social enterprise. And that is to allow them to grow their own income so that when our funding ends, they will be able to continue those retail services and reinvest the profits that they are generating themselves from the retail division back into their community hub and their services. It also helps us with this net zero transition focus that the panel are looking at, because it is about reducing the carbon intensity of fashion, which is one of the key industries that are carbon intensive. There has also been the transition to net zero principles that have been needed by many community hubs and sports facilities across South Lanarkshire. So Uddingston Cricket and Sports Club got a relatively small award, and that was to help them move to the renewable technology that they needed so that they had lower carbon heating, but also that they were able to reduce their running and energy costs through having that source of energy for them. We've also supported the bigger area climate care, and that was to provide a retrofit service. And so that is one of the key areas that the households in South Lanarkshire are needing, is how they can get guidance as to how they can insulate and enhance the energy efficiency of their homes. We provided early support to the bigger area climate care so that they were able to capacity build themselves to provide those vital services within rural South Lanarkshire. Some other examples in South Lanarkshire is CCI, which is up on the outskirts of Lanark, where we help them build a community cafe. Now that is a key area for them to allow their service users to volunteer and work for them, but that cafe has also become an income stream for CCI and provides them funding that they can then utilise into their other provision. And also Primary Engineers, which is an organisation that we've supported to embed a STEM curriculum in 90 local schools within South Lanarkshire. That has been vital for us as we ensure that schools are preparing young people for the jobs of the future. And this was an organisation that had experience in South Lanarkshire, and we've been able to allow them to enhance that. And they provide the legacy of leaving the teachers with a curriculum embedded programme that they can deliver for future years. In other areas, and I know people talk about the net zero focus, and it's not the only focus of the fund, but it is something that we recognise as a renewable company. We have to help communities to progress. So we have helped communities to build their own renewable solutions, such as community hydro. We have helped with the transition to solar technology on a range of community hubs, and I've worked very closely with Local Energy Scotland on that. And then we have also helped programmes in the Highlands. We have an energy efficiency programme that we support that allows the council to bring a blended programme of funding together and allows those in extreme fuel poverty to get the energy efficiency measures they need to ensure that they've got the warm homes for the future. We've also helped with some of the capacity building for local community transport and also providing programmes like energy efficiency, as I said. What I thought I would leave, because I'm sure that Peter will be sharing the slide pack with you, is this slide that has links to some of the learning that is available on our website. If you're wanting to learn from other communities and how they have shared and utilised our funding, we have a range of community investment reviews, impact reviews and videos that are available on our website and give you a flavour of what the fund is supported. That includes one that has captured the 10 years of our regional investment and shares a video sharing case studies from communities that have accessed our funding.